Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Gamification, episode number 5! Wait, that's not 5, that's 10. Episode number 5! This is Chou, gamification pioneer and speaker at organizations, companies, and Stanford University. Most recently, I was rated as one of the top 40 gamification gurus, but I definitely think I'm the funniest. So this is the 5th installment of 90 episodes where I teach you how to turn from beginner to a gamification master. In the last episodes, we talked about the 8 core drives and Octalysis. This episode, we will talk about the 4 experience phases in a game. Most people treat interacting with a product as one experience. It's either good, bad, interesting, funny, or boring. Arizona. Full of action. A good human-focused gamifier needs to take one product and optimize it as 4 products instead of 1 product, because for each user at different time phases when they're interacting with the product, it seems to be a totally different product that they're interacting with. When you look at LinkedIn on day 1, it's very, very different from looking at LinkedIn after you've been using it for an entire year or 3 years. Right? On day 1, it's basically something where you complete a profile, and that's what you're doing. And on year 3, everything's done. You're using LinkedIn because you're searching for talent. You're searching for people to partner with. You're searching for a new job. So you can't really say LinkedIn on year 1 is the same product as LinkedIn on year 3. And that's why you need to really focus on all 4 phases of gamification. If a product is very useful and exciting at the beginning, but as time goes by, it becomes a lot more uninspiring and boring, that's not very useful. Similarly, if a game is only amazing after 20 hours of play, but it's really boring or stupid the first 1 or 2 hours, then that's not very useful either. It's useless because everyone's gonna quit before they even get there. And yes, I shaved. Duh. Now I look like a kid instead of a guru. It is worth noting that the 4 experience phases in gamification is similar to Professor Kevin Werbach's. I did have the honor to go through his lecture. My theory is a little bit different because of my own experience as a gamer, but I think he has a lot of credit and he's done amazing work.
The first experience phase in gamification is discovery.
The discovery phase is
when people first discover your product or service.
Is how do people discover what you're doing, your product or your service? And why do they want to try it? That just applies to marketing gamification, where just learning about the product, starting to try out the product, the sign-up process, that all in itself could be fun and engaging and exciting, very much gamified. Sometimes it's because their friend invited them to do it. Again, social pressure, right? Sometimes it's because they're on a journey and this is one of the necessary tools on the journey, right? And sometimes it's just they read on the paper that people should do this. Sometimes it's curiosity. Gamifying your discovery phase is a great way to increase your brand name, sign-up rates, and conversion rates. And so it is something very, very good to look into. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Who are you? Why are you filming me?
The second experience phase of gamification is onboarding. This is when you train them to become familiar with the rules, the options, the mechanics, and the win state. Most businesses and products focus on the onboarding process when it comes to gamification. People gave you a chance. They tried your product or service out. They just, they touched on it. They're like, I'm curious. Let's see what's going on. Now you have to understand the motivation behind using it and understanding the mechanisms behind it, understanding all the features, and really start to explore what you have. Detroit, the home of the Detroits. That's when, websites like LinkedIn do something very simple, like say, hey, we add a progress bar. So you're 0% right now. When you type in your name, you're 10%. Ooh, 10%. You're 10% of a professional after you put in your name. Right? Because honestly, there's nothing else to do on LinkedIn. And you just create a LinkedIn account, and it's not like you're gonna go on it and be like, ooh, what kind of amazing professionals can I find on LinkedIn? No. You're kind of just like, oh, what is this? All right, I'm gonna create my profile. And most of the time, you're on LinkedIn for the first time because you read about it in the newspaper or your friend invited you. I mean, if you're a recruiter and you're creating LinkedIn for the first time, that's different, right? But most recruiters should be on LinkedIn, or else we have a problem, Houston. Mastering the onboarding process will get your users to start using your product with excitement and motivation. The third experience phase in gamification is
Scaffolding.
Scaffolding is a term that Professor Kevin Werbach uses to describe the third phase. I generally like the term the mid-game better due to my chess experience, but I think I'll comply to authority and use his term. And it sounds fancier too.
Now is the time for scaffolding.
Scaffolding is where gamers take the rules, the options that they've learned in onboarding and try to achieve the win state for as many times as possible.
This is supposedly where the most fun should happen.
Once you have successfully implemented a good win state in scaffolding that adopts the 8 core drives of Octalysis, you will start to see player motivation and engagement.
The fourth and final stage of the game is the end game.
The end game is when you're already an expert in the product and you already know everything there is. You've done everything you could have done at least once, and now you're just doing it again and again and continue to grow and develop into the experience. Once a person has engaged with this product for a while, why would they keep using it? How do they find meaning instead of those repetitive activities? That is the hard part of the end game. If the end game isn't well designed, then you'll see a lot of churn rate at the end, and people start to leave the game, never to come back because they've played everything there is, and they move on to your competitors. But a good endgame can be achieved by implementing evergreen mechanics or by adding systems where you can easily add new content into a game. If you master the endgame, you will create a lot of contributors, evangelists, and long-term customers. Yeah! So again, in gamification framework, we have 8 core drives and 4 gamer experience phases. You gotta remember that. Next episode, we're gonna talk about how to combine everything we've learned up to this point. Octalysis, 8 core drives, the 4 experience phases, all into one system. Once you have learned that, you will become a level 1 Octalysis gamifier. You won't have a badge, you won't have a trophy, but you will know you have that knowledge in you and you're ready to go to level 2. Because honestly, intrinsic rewards are worth much, much more than extrinsic rewards. Oh yeah, I haven't talked to you guys about yet. Hope you had fun and that your mind was blown.